So, like we talked about, we're going to connect and debrief about your recent acquisition and talk about your experience and something that somebody else in your shoes looking to buy a business can learn from your experience. So, you want to talk a little bit about what brought you to the point of a buying company and how why you chose to work with us and how all of that went.
Well, there's several things that stood out. First of all, just presence of website closers. It's just the way they list and organize different business opportunities. Also, the broker, the value that the broker, especially for the first time buyer in the e-com space, is their knowledge of the transaction itself, how to prepare for the purchase, the acquisition, for aligning the financials review, the legal help that's needed, the paperwork involved, the time frames to be mindful of. It's just a knowledge of the business transition, but also in terms of the actual business itself, knowledge of how an Amazon business functions versus Shopify and other channels. So all those things, the knowledge that the broker brought was very helpful for me, especially as a first-time buyer.
That's really good feedback. And you were kind of a unique buyer in that you owned a business and you've also worked for companies. So you have a lot of buyers that are wanting to leave kind of the corporate world, and you've kind of had a foot in both. But you were really wanting to get into the digital space specifically. And I think it was about freeing up you geography wise and everything like that. But can you talk a little bit about your motivation there to get into the digital space?
It's all about diversification for me. This business that I purchased is one of the several companies that I own, and all of my previous experience working for somebody else in a large company versus myself, all of those are in the B2B space and B2G space. I've never done direct to consumer, and in particular, internet-based e-commerce type of business. And it's something that I wanted to get into for a long time. And to me, it offers another level of diversification. And as I see a portfolio of companies and that I own and control, just another way to reduce my risk and dependency on one thing or another. And as an example, we just had a federal government shutdown, which potentially could have had a fairly large impact to my uh, my significant business. Although we didn't end up having that much disruption, it's just wanted to have the ability to focus on other business lines if something went catastrophic in B2B or B2G.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And in your case, I mean, it was almost like a unicorn. It almost went too smooth. We had, a few hiccups, a few things that had to work through, and it was during the time when all the different stuff was happening with tariffs. And fortunately, I think you were in a little bit of a category where it wasn't as impactful, but we really pushed through all of that, and you kind of had your own experts with you for accounting and IT and the different spaces. But can you kind of talk a little bit about your experience and bringing your team as well as leveraging what we were able to provide and help guide you in the process?
Yeah, I think I agree that I was a little different from your typical, I want to leave the corporate world and start my own gig. I did that 25 years ago. So I had built enough, I guess, business mass and other business entities that are currently operating. I didn't need financing. First of all, I think that was a big factor that the attorney and a lot of other people just kept forgetting about, but it was simple because of that. I didn't need a bank to give me approvals. It was just excess cash that was available for the purchase. But also I had existing employees in my other businesses that I could um, divert into the due diligence and then also the transition work after acquisition. Biggest work being the IT infrastructure, the ability to set up our own Amazon store, our own Shopify. After the acquisition, there were several things that were not done ideally in an existing setup, but we were able to fix those things. So, yeah, different different perspective because we were a larger company acquiring a small e-com business.
Yeah, that definitely does impact the dynamics. And with that, I mean, you had a vision, you had an idea of the opportunity, the upside you've seen. Like you mentioned, there was some things that, the seller could have been doing better, but they're doing a lot of different businesses and focused in different areas and not maybe have the team and focus and see the opportunities that you did. So since the acquisition, how's it played out in terms of being able to implement some of those opportunity areas that you initially, drew you into this to begin with?
It's been almost 4 months since closing. Everything is work in progress still. We're almost done with infrastructure transition with enhancements. The way I see it is taking over existing Amazon account, the business, as well as the Shopify site and all the connections to different marketplaces. The work is still ongoing, but we've started making improvements on existing core of the business operations, and that is the ability to drip feed into Amazon from 3PLs, coordinating with the existing manufacturers overseas, and the one thing that really made it easy is the seller that continues to work with us and helps us with these logistics issues and knowledge. So it's been a to me it's been a win-win for us and for the seller. And as we gain operational efficiencies, some of these methods and tools, we'll be sharing with the seller as well to try to improve his business. So it's just helping each other. That's to me, that's a good business relationship.
Yeah, I think that's key, that win-win mentality. And I think early on when we started talking about this, as much as it was the opportunity in this business, it was also the willingness of the seller to stay on and help you in that process and teach you and your team some of the things that you guys don't get exposure to in your current business, and get you in a place where you can learn from that but then start to add your own ideas and scale beyond that. So just that win-win nature, I can't emphasize enough how important that is, and I'm glad that you kind of brought that up. So I know I don't want to take much of your time here, but was there anything else in parting that you would share with somebody looking to go on this journey, and why it specifically would be advantageous to work with a broker such as myself within website closers?
I guess once again, it's all about that knowledge. It's very difficult from an outsider, unless you already have an e-com business and you already know how Amazon operates. It's very difficult to get that traction, but we also were in a position where the seller had to have a transition period because it was just one combined Amazon account. There was no way to separate the account out and sell it as a standalone business. Because of that, we were in a unique situation where transition was required, um, whether either of us liked it or not, but it just ended out working favorably. And that's kind of what I thought was attractive in the first place on this acquisition, because it forced the seller and us to transition together. There was no other way to make this acquisition happen. So because the business was heavily reliant on Amazon, that was the only way to make this transition happen. And it just happened to work out that it was a great learning experience for us, and the transition was smooth for the seller.
Yeah, I think that's 100% spot on. It just like I said, that win-win opportunity, and this was a unique scenario in many ways, but because both sides had a vested interest to gain for each other and to make it work out, it just ended up being a good situation all around. And in parting here, I think because of your good experience and now what you've obtained from this, you're looking to acquire more businesses and continue to grow your footprint in the digital and the e-com space, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking for another gem from website closers.
Well, looking forward to bringing you that gem and continuing to work with you on many more to come.